Lake Honrick is truly beautiful at this time of year, isn't it? Hello. It's so nice to finally meet you in person. My name is Trips on Tail. I am the owner of Tamrielic Realty. And it is my job to help you find the home of your dreams in the hardy northern province of Skyrim. As you know, Skyrim is currently in the throes of a civil war between the Empire and the rebel Stormcloaks. Until recently, Tamrielic Realty had only been able to offer homes in Empire-held holds, but due to the success of recent negotiations with Jarl Ulfric Stormcloak, we have gained access to Stormcloak holds as well, and we have multiple fine options in those holds to show you today. So first off, let me just thank you for choosing Tamrielic Realty. I know you have many options when it comes to finding a home, and we are honored that you went with us. Now, we here at Tamrielic Realty believe that your neighborhood is just as important as your home, so we take the time to tour the city of every home that we offer with each of our clients, helping you to understand if the area is right for you. We are here, of course, in the town of Riften, capital of the Rift Hold. Stepping through the north gate here, we are immediately flanked by residences, and crossing the bridge over the canal will take us to the Bee and Barb Inn, just here to our left, as well as the open-air market beyond. I must recommend visiting the Bee and Barb just for my friend Talon J's specialty drinks. My personal favorite is the White Cold Tower, a mixture of cream, mead, lavender, and dragon's tongue. I wouldn't recommend the Cliff Racer. The last time I drank one of those, I ended up married to a hag raven. So crossing from the market, we have the Temple of Mara here, goddess of fertility, agriculture, and of course, love. The priests here conduct marriage ceremonies for many couples in Skyrim. It's seen as good fortune for the marriage to be sealed under the auspices of Mara's own temple. The temple also houses the Hall of the Dead for the city, and a small graveyard lies off of the south wall. This humble mausoleum here is rumored to be haunted, as Riften's residents have sometimes reported seeing shadowy figures entering the structure in the dark of night and mysteriously vanishing without a trace. The spirits of the dead, many assume. Just past the graveyard we have a shrine to Telos. As a Stormcloak run hold, the worship of Talos can be done openly without fear of the Thalmor justiciars. The southeast gate here that we can see is sealed up. It is known as the Dead Gate, due to the fact that the city suffered numerous bloody bandit raids at that entrance. With it being sealed, travelers are forced to use the South Gate, or the much more trafficked Dock Gate. Mistvale Keep here houses the current Jarl, Layla Lawgiver, a well-intentioned, but to speak frankly, fairly useless, powerless leader. Riften is widely known to be in the iron grip of Maven Blackbriar, a ruthless, wealthy woman who controls local governmental and economic matters through bribes, extortion, and all other means of influence. I speak so bluntly on the matter because I believe you should understand what kind of place you will be moving into in Riften. Stay on Maven's good side, and you should have no troubles. But make an enemy of her, and you will find no justice within these city walls. Riften is divided into the Lakeside district, which is built over Lake Honrick, and Dryside, which is built on solid ground. Dryside is further bisected by the canal, dividing the commercial western section from the affluent residential eastern section. A third division can be seen down these steps. The canal level, a literal underclass of beggars and dock workers lives here. Other than Elgrim's Elixirs, the local alchemy shop, there's little reason to visit this lower level of the city, especially as the maze-like sewer system known as the Rat Way is full of thugs, dangerous creatures, and supposedly the local chapter of the Thieves Guild. But let's cross up these stairs again, and we will take a look at the home that I have for sale here in Riften. Just up these steps is the very comfortingly named Honeyside house. Honeyside. And there it is. Before we take a look at the house itself, I'll show you the garden that has been lovingly maintained by the previous owner. Currently, it's growing a wide variety of flowers, crops, alchemical ingredients, and so on. There are potatoes, leeks, cabbages, jasping grapes, deathbell, nightshade, lavender, so on. Such a well-maintained garden, I think, is one of this house's nicer features. And if you have a green thumb, I think it would be a wonderful draw for living here. But with that being shown, let's take a look at the house itself. And here we are. The front door leads to a small but cozy dining room and kitchen. The west-facing windows let in the warm light of the sun as it sits over Lake Honrig. The exposed rafters and log walls are rustic and functional, but the building is designed for comfort, including tapestry and wainscoting to help insulate the home in these harsh Skyrim winters. Now, with this cozy kitchen and dining area shown off, we can step into the bedroom. And now, as you can see, the house has a fairly open, minimally differentiated floor plan. Privacy could be somewhat of a concern if you intend to share the home with a family, but if you are living by yourself or with a partner, the open floor plan shouldn't be too much of an issue. The basement, you can see, is highly practical. It contains an alchemy lab, servants' quarters just through this door here. Let's take a look at that. If you take on a servant or a housecarl or anything of the sort, this would be an appropriate place for them to reside in. It's also quite a spacious basement, as you can see. Compared to other basements in the region, you'll have no shortage of storage space. Some choice eggs have rolled off the shelf. Let's just tidy up a bit there. And stepping through here, we have an enchanting room. If you are of an arcane persuasion, this is all stocked with the various amenities that you could want, soul gems and the like. If you don't see much use for enchanting, we could easily swap out the space for, say, a child's bedroom. But let's go take a look at my favorite feature of this house, the gorgeous elevated deck that looks out over Lake Honrig. A mud crab hanging on the wall. These Nord decorations are not always to my taste, I must admit. But just imagine being able to admire this view every night. The spectacle of the sun setting over the lake, the beehives of golden glow estate, the mountains silhouetted off in the distance. The price of Honeyside is a very fair 8,000 septims. If you would like to keep it fully furnished, it will be an additional approximately 4,000 septims for about 12,000 septims total. And of course, if you do wish to save a bit of money, we are happy to remove the furnishings and allow you to decorate it yourself for that 4,000 septim discount, so whatever you like. Now, while we're in the area, I have just acquired a piece of land in Falkreath. So, if you're curious, let's go take a look. here we are, overlooking Lake Ilinalta. This prime parcel of land has become a favorite of the other realtors around the office, and a few of them have even thought of buying it themselves to build on. We've taken to calling the imagined home Lakeview Manor, as you can see why, and I do think that is a fine name. Now, one small snag about this location is we have identified a necromantic ritual table just down the hill here. There have been some reports of sinister warlocks being sighted there at night, so you should be aware of that. We could, of course, dismantle the ritual site as well to ward any of those necromancers off, and I would be happy to do that for free for you as a friendly gesture. Though I certainly don't judge my clients for their taste, and I will say that for some of my clients in the past, a ritual table like that so close to their house would, in fact, be a perk. So you will have some neighbors just to the south here, a small cottage called Pine Watch. I haven't had a chance to speak with the residents yet, but they seem to be simple farmers. Just south of Pine Watch is the main road, which you can follow west to Falkreath or east to the town of Helgen. So, one of the advantages of this location is that while it is somewhat remote and you can have privacy, it is close enough to civilization that you can go into town relatively easily if you would like. So, just cresting this rise here, we can see Pine Watch down there. I'll leave it to you to come knock on the door and say hello if you decide to move in here. These Skyrim views really never get old. It's hard to match the fields of evergreen trees and the mist-clad mountains in the distance. No, I think 5,000 septims is a very appropriate price for this piece of land. So, if you're interested in building your own home, rather than buying one pre-made, this could be a fine option for you. And on that note, if you are interested in buying just a plot of land, I do have one up in the Pale. Now, while you might imagine that means it's a frigid, lifeless plot, I think you'll be surprised. Welcome to the Pale. I wanted to show you how close we can safely stand to the giants here at their camp of Stonehill Bluff without provoking them. The giants are perfectly peaceful folk as long as you give them their space. I wanted to demonstrate this to you because the land that I have available here a little spooked by that fact, but they are perfectly safe, I assure you. But descending out of the flurries of Stonehill Bluff, we can see some less snow-covered land, a little less harsh, where farmers can actually grow crops. And this area here, this plot of land, is what I was hoping to show you today. When this land was initially sold, it was intended to be the site of a grand dwelling called Heliarchen Hall, so that is the name on the deed. And if you choose to purchase this land, that would be the name of the home that you built on it, legally speaking at least. But follow me over here, and I'll show you your closest neighbors. Well, besides the giants, your closest human neighbors. Down south there, Ventus Loreas and his wife, Kerway, farm cabbages, leeks, potatoes, grind flour. They have some chickens, cows. Not the most neighborly folk you'll find, but that's a Skyrim hospitality for you. But let's take a look at the plot of land itself. It's quite rich in resources. There are valuable stone and clay deposits. I'll note that just off to the east there, over that ridge, is Blizzard's Rest, the other giant camp. So, please, I hope that my object lesson today removed any fear about living alongside giants. And truly, the only trouble people ever have with them is when they get too close, and the giants will respect your space as well. But I hope this land speaks to you. It has wonderful views. You're close to, of course, the capital of the Pale, Dawnstar. And I will sell this plot of land for 5,000 septims. But if building your own home isn't to your taste, I do have another home we can visit today, in the Stormcloak capital of Windhelm. Would you like to take a look? Wonderful. Let's head over there. And here we are, outside of Windhelm, looking out from the city's great and famous bridge over the White River. Continuously inhabited by men since before even the first era began. The city was built by the legendary Ysgramor himself and his crew of Admorans, using the labor of snow elf slaves. It's unlike anywhere else on the continent, a city of stones so ancient that the greatest heroes of recorded history have stepped on them. And far from being an ancient dead ruin like, say, Labyrinthian, it's still bustling with of warmth and music and trade. I must say I find myself somewhat bewitched by it, that folk live in such a piece of history. Of course, I could never live here. The cold doesn't agree with me. And not to mention the fact that the Jarl has banned Argonians from residing within the walls. So I don't exactly have a choice in the matter. So it's quite nice to be able to appreciate the ancient Nord architecture up close. Most ruins and barrows of Skyrim are too dangerous to really appreciate, but Windhelm is the exception. And here we are in the City of Kings, the centrally located inn of Candlehearth Hall, just to our right, beckons with warm, fire-filled windows. This is the stone quarter of the city, containing the markets, the inn, of course, the city temple, and so on. Down here in the market, we have the city's blacksmith, the White File, which is an apothecary, and a collection of market stalls selling your daily needs. Vegetables, meat, wine, general goods, and the like. Fortunately, the home I have for sale today is only a short walk away from the marketplace, ensuring your daily grocery and supply trips would be simple and easy. Naturally, if you're thinking about living here, the temperature in Windhelm could never be described as balmy, so I would certainly advise you be comfortable with the cold. Continuing past the market, we come to Windhelm's graveyard and the Hall of the Dead here. Continuing north from here takes us to the Valenstrad, which means the Avenue of Valor. That's where our home option today is located. But before we see that, let's finish off our tour of the city. We can return to the central avenue of the Stone Quarter and go take a look at the rest of Windhelm. We have, I believe this is perhaps a priest of Talos, or perhaps the priest who enters the dead into the Hall of the Dead. To the north, from the central avenue of the city, is the Palace of Kings, rearing up in the distance, from which Jarl Ulfric Stormcloak prosecutes his war against the Empire, fighting for Skyrim's independence. Passing Candlehearth Hall and the main gate again, we can travel into the so-called Grey Quarter, which a few hundred years back was called the Snow Quarter, but it has gained its new name from the concentration of Dunmer refugees who live there. The eruption of Red Mountain on Vardenfell having driven many thousands of Dark Elves away from their homes and into the rest of Tamriel for safety. is worth noting that Dunmer and Argonians might struggle in Windhelm. The social situation in the city is fraught. The Dark Elves and the Nords are often at each other's throats, and my people, the Argonians, are so despised that they are kept outside of the walls entirely, forced to live in a prison-like building called the Argonian Assemblage. While I don't believe this represents the feelings of all Nords or even of all Stormcloaks, you'll have to pardon me if I don't entirely hide my distaste for the situation and the people who force my egg brothers and sisters to live in squalor. But I don't mean to raise politics, especially as Jarl Frick has been more than generous in allowing us to ply our trade within the city walls today. This is the new Nice's Corner Club, by the way. I've heard it's the best place in the city to get a real drink. The Great Order, although it is stricken by poverty, is charming in its own way. The banners from Morrowind hung on the buildings call to mind that strange, grey, alien world. While it's not the most pleasant reality to linger on this social disunity, I do want to convey it very clearly to you so that should you choose to live in the city, you are completely educated on what to expect. Things are so tense that even Nords who are more welcoming to outsiders, like the local gentleman Brunwolf Freewinter, they fear that attempting to integrate the Argonians would result in nothing but disaster, so the situation is liable to stay as it is for some time. But I've spoken too long about politics. We're here at the astounding Palace of Kings, the seat of old Ysgramor. They say he chose this spot for his city, by the way, so that he could look out over the river and see his son Ingol's imperial peril, which is situated on the opposite bank. This is, by the way, the Valenstrad district of the city that I mentioned before, the city's oldest construction. The buildings here are generally much larger, and the residents are usually wealthier and respected. Should you choose to move to Windhelm, your neighbors would include the wealthy shipping magnates of Clan Shattershield, the farmers of Clan Cruelty, and the old imperial widow, Viola Giordano, I believe is her name, a noblewoman who I think came from the imperial city. And now, just up these steps on the left, we have what could be your new home. The manor is called Hjerim, which in the old Nord tongue means home of frost. An appropriate name, certainly, as the snow drifts against its wall attest. You can just take a look. Your property extends out along this railing and into the small cubby against the wall back there. You do have multiple hawk-themed pieces of ancient Nord stone and metalwork. A lovely and very traditional, ancient touch of exterior decoration. But why don't we get out of the cold and take a look at the interior? A traditional, old-style Windhelm home with close-packed stone and snug wooden planks to hold the heat in. There's an expansive kitchen with a small table for meals, and the main hall has a substantial dining table for entertaining guests. Traditional woven art hangs on the walls, and goat horn lanterns keep the space comfortably lit. The home comes pre-furnished with everything that you see here, though as we have discussed before, you are welcome to furnish it yourself and save some coin off of the purchase price. And we can discuss price shortly after the tour is over. This is when I should bring up, I suppose, a rather unpleasant element of the home's history. You will certainly learn it if you move here, and I would want you to be fully educated on the home, of course, before you purchased it. But some time ago, Windhelm fell victim to the bloody machinations of a serial killer. We can take a look here, just through the children's bedroom here, which I'll say is very nicely appointed if you have any little ones. Through this wardrobe on the wall to our right is a hidden chamber. We have outfitted this chamber with an alchemy and enchanting station. Now, before we cleaned up the house, this room is where the serial killer would bring his victims, young women who he carved up to steal their blood, tendons, and marrow for use in sickening necromantic rituals. Now, thank the divines, the killer and his rampage were brought to an end. But I understand that after an event like that took place in a home, people would have some concerns. I have had experience with haunted houses in the past. I once purchased a home in Anvil, in Cyrodiil. Windhelm Manor it was called, and after spending a night there while getting it ready to be sold, I was beset by angry ghosts. Now, to assure that that never happens again, I bring in priests and wizards to investigate any homes that I acquire for dark energies, vengeful spirits, all that ilk. And they guaranteed to me that nothing of the sort could be found in this home. Even so, I always spend a night in every home that could be suspected of being haunted, just to be absolutely sure that it is safe. I understand that such a frightful event in the home's history reasonable, but it's my job to make sure that there is no actual threat, and I can guarantee in this case that Hjerim is completely safe from floor to ceiling. But with that being said, I've neglected to speak on the house's features as we have been exploring. As you can see, the second floor is very, very spacious. We have a small room here. You could use this for storage, for a crafts room, an office, a den, whatever you like. It's left open here for your imagination to fill in. And just through this other door, we have the bedroom. And it is one of the more sumptuous bedrooms in the city. Very expensive, multiple tables to, say, take your breakfast or morning beverages, whatever you like. There are bookshelves and display cases, plenty of light, including windows for natural light. I'm asking 12,000 septims for the home, and an additional 10,000 if you wish to keep all of the furnishings in place. A very fine price for one of the finest homes in the Verlonstraat. But while you ponder that, I do have one more home available, something extraordinarily unique and perfect for somebody with an adventurous spirit. And as we are in Windhelm, we're only a short boat trip away. Welcome to Solstheim, the storied island off of the coast of Morrowind and Skyrim, a melting pot of the two lands that reflects the cultures of both provinces, while also having a rich, independent history of its own. This is the settlement of Raven Rock. Once a simple mining town founded by the East Empire Company to harvest ebony, it has spent hundreds of years growing into a hardy, proud community. Since Red Mountain erupted nearly 2 centuries ago, Raven Rock has gone through many struggles, but the resilience of its people has helped it survive, and today, with the ebony mine recently reopened, it seems poised for a bountiful period of growth and success. Stepping down the steps from the Great Wall of Raven Rock, allow me to point out the temple here to our right. Since the Red Year, the Accession War, and the deaths or disappearance of the Dunmer Tribunal gods, the Dark Elves have religiously returned to their old ways, the ways carried by the Ashlander tribes during the long reign of the Tribunal. This temple, as all are in Morrowind, is now dedicated to the reclamations, or the 3 good Daedra in Dunmer culture: Boethia, Mephala, and Azura. And here we have the docks from which the town's steady supply of ebony is sent off to the rest of the empire. Follow me back through the marketplace, past the town's corner club, delightfully named the Retching Niche, past the smithy, past the home of Laryl Morvain, the leader of Raven Rock and counselor of the Dunmer House Redoran, which oversees the town in the modern era. And we can see the mine itself just up ahead. And with the mine entrance in sight, I'll explain why I emphasized the resurgence of Raven Rock. Despite this home perhaps seeming like a strange offering compared to the more comfortable options I showed you in Skyrim, I believe that Raven Rock is only going to grow and expand, and moving here now before that explosion of development and governmental support will surely be an exciting move. And if you have an eye towards entrepreneurship, it will be quite profitable in the long run, I believe. Now just south of your home, there is an Allmaker stone there, a sacred site to the Skull people of the island. And this is your potential new home. It's built in fascinating Dunmer fashion, half buried in the earth. I'll show you the back as well. I find the architecture just delightful to look at. This home once belonged to the wealthiest family in Raven Rock, the Severins, so it is well appointed and as finely constructed as you could ask for. You shouldn't run into any problems of unreliable construction and so on. But let's step inside now and take the tour. What do you say? So the entryway, as you can see, is quite small. This is very traditional for Dunmer homes in this style. Most of the construction is underground. This entryway can be used for storage. Of course, there's a fireplace here. Sometimes it can be used as a seating area or a reception area. It's very flexible. And your cooking can of course be done up here to more easily pass through the chimney. But let's take a look at the bulk of the building downstairs. It's a bit dark here as I haven't had time to fully renovate and install light fixtures and so on since we at Tamrielic Realty acquired this property. But you can get a good idea of the structure and see its potential. So we have a small side bedroom here. Well, small is not the right word. It's of course quite spacious, but used as a guest bedroom. We have a garden of ash yams here and a Eighth Crow, I believe, are the local plans here. Crossing the hall again, we'll find a very practically minded section of the house. The previous residents used this for smithing, weapons practice, smelting, and so on. So, if you're of a handy mindset and can make use of this workbench and tanning rack and so on, you might appreciate this as is. To my point earlier about not having had time to fully renovate this home yet, we also have not had time to properly assess its value. I could give you a ballpark estimate of probably in the range of 10 to 15,000 symptoms if fully furnished, but that is a very rough approximation, and if you are interested in the house, I'll need to figure that out a bit more specifically first. We of course have an alchemy station here, very well stocked, I'm given to understand, and across the hall we have an enchanting station. The previous residents left behind a substantial collection of weapons and armor, which will all be included with the home. They have a wide variety of rare armaments. But here is the master bedroom. It's very sizable, as you can see. It is equipped with a variety of traditional armor and weaponry. If you appreciate this collection, you can keep it. But I would be happy to take it off your hands if it's not your, shall we say, aesthetic preference. But there is a substantial amount of space that you could customize as you like. So, if you were to move in here, I think there is plenty of room to make it feel very much your own. But that will be the end of our tour today, and indeed, that is the final home that I have for you, so thank you for letting me cart you all around Eastern Skyrim and beyond, my friend. Please take some time to consider your options, and we can speak again when you've made a decision. Oh, really? Well, I love a decisive customer like yourself. And tell me, which option struck your fancy? Yes, I might have guessed. Well, please, why don't you join me at the Retching Netch Corner Club this evening, and we can put quill to parchment, and then if you'd like, we can crack open a bottle of celebratory Sujamma, on me, of course. I love to celebrate my clients acquiring the home of their dreams. You'd like to? Wonderful. Well, I'll see you there in a few hours. Thank you again, my friend, for choosing